All right, what is going on, squad? So, in this one, we're going to be talking about why your house will not make you rich. So, as you can see, this is a lot of you guys out here, millennials and Gen Zs, baby boomers, about to throw hands with me with this hot take. One thing I want to say off rip, a lot of the research I got from this was from this video that I saw from Diary of a CEO on YouTube, which I highly recommend you guys watch. Search on YouTube Diary of a CEO Personal Finance Experts. It just came out like 3 days ago. There's a lot of good insights in there. All right, so let's talk about the first one. For uh, a lot of us, we ultimately want to buy a house. I myself hopefully want to buy a house maybe in the next couple years. But here's the thing, honestly, while running the numbers, I don't really feel like this is the best investment and an investment, period. And here's why. When you calculate the interest, when you calculate the taxes, when you calculate the mortgage, when you calculate the maintenance, the numbers aren't really adding up. Again, just because it is not a great investment does not mean it is not a great decision. So, what do I mean by that? With owning a home, you have to consider all the positive things, right? You have to consider living in an area where your kids or future kids can go to a relatively great school. You have to consider the community aspect. You have to consider the stability, and all those things should be accounted for, right? Like, again, I'm not here to tell you guys not to buy a house, but what I am showing you is ultimately it doesn't really have to be a great investment to be a great decision, and I'm going to show you the numbers validating what I'm talking about. All right, so let's go to the first one. It says here, I bought this house for $500,000. So we hear this a lot. People will kind of in conversation be like, "Oh, I bought this house for, let's say, 500,000, and now I could sell it for 750,000. I've made a great investment. That's like 50% return on money." What you have to consider though is that, again, when you look at the purchase price of a house, this is what people call the sticker price. This is the minimum price that you are going to pay for this house. It's not the final maximum cost of what it actually was to buy this house. This is the minimum sticker price that's on it. All right, so we're going to go through some of those different things, right? Because again, like our parents' generations, like I wrote here, they like to talk about how they bought their house for X and now it's worth X. Okay, cool, but how much cost are you factoring into that investment, right? Here's a little statistic I found. With baby boomers, when they were buying homes in the early 30s, the median home price was 82,000 and the median income was 23,000. So that was a 3.5x price to income ratio, meaning it took 3.5 times more your income to be able to buy a house outright. Now, for millennials in their early 30s, and honestly, I feel like these numbers are kind of understated. It says the median home price is 313,000 with a median income of 68,000. So it takes 4.6 times our salary to purchase a house outright. Another stat: the number of millionaires renting in the U.S. has tripled between 2019 and 2023. Again, this has been a big trend that I've been seeing with all these videos that I watch with individuals that teach for personal finance like myself. A lot of them are first and foremost, let's say, way more, I guess, financially free than I am. A lot of these people are New York Times bestselling authors. They have a huge following, and a lot of these people still rent their home. They still rent versus choosing to buy, which is pretty interesting. All right. The next thing here, let's talk about some of the perks behind um, actually renting, right? And I'll give you a key example. Our generation, especially with the kind of work from home situations after COVID, it really did change the dynamic of the work life balance. And I feel that a lot of us millennials and Gen Zs realize, like, wait, so you're telling me I really didn't have to go to the office 5 times a week to actually make money? This is a game changer. And this game changer resulted in a lot of us having untraditional routes and careers that maybe our parents didn't take. A prime example that I gave on the letter was I moved to New York when I was like 26, 27, spent a couple years there, then moved back to Florida, was living in Boca for a year, and now I'm living in Orlando. And the only reason I've been able to do that was because of the remote work lifestyle that we currently have. So flexibility for us is way more valuable than flexibility in our parents' generations because it simply wasn't a thing. No one had hybrid jobs that I'm aware of. No one had remote jobs. So this in turn makes the decision completely different, vastly different. Ideally, we want to be less kind of fixated on one geographic location if we can, right? The next thing here, property taxes. So for those of you that don't know, at least in Florida, 1% of the value of your home is charging taxes. So the example that I wrote, if you have a $500,000 house in Florida, the annual property tax can range from approximately 3,600 to 4,500. And again, like if your property keeps increasing in value, guess what? Your taxes are going to increase as well. So something to consider. The next thing here, interest on the mortgage. Typically, people put 20% down of their own money, which would be $100,000 on a $500,000 house. The $400,000 that you borrow from the bank, again, assuming let's say interest rate of 6%, you would pay $464,000 on interest. So again, with a $400,000 mortgage, you can be looking at paying double that just with interest alone. Typically, the first 20 years of your mortgage are mostly interest, which is something to highlight. Because again, is that $500,000 house really $500,000? Again, there's ways to avoid paying that much interest with putting additional payments on your mortgage. Most people don't do that, but just giving you everything here. Now, giving you a scenario, right? This example is using ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT, all right, if I have a $500,000 house with 20% down at a 6.5% mortgage, my mortgage payment would give or take be $2,500. The taxes, insurance, and maintenance would give or take be $1,200 a month, and my total would be $3,750. If I now try to rent a house that's comparable to that same $500,000 house, ChatGPT is telling me it's $3,000 a month. Now here's where things get interesting. Opportunity cost is something very important. Understanding the difference in what you're paying between renting and buying a home, if you can invest that difference, what can be the potential outcome? This scenario is not financial advice. Historical results do not guarantee future results. But if you took $750, which is the difference between buying and renting in this scenario, and you invested it in something like a NASDAQ 100 index fund, which again, this is investing in the top 100 stocks in the NASDAQ, which are mostly technology stocks. In a 30-year period, historically, it's returned 15% a year. So that $270,000 over the course of 30 years, so $750 every single month for 30 years, that $270,000 would turn into $2.2 million. Again, this doesn't guarantee future results, but I'm just saying opportunity cost is something very important. The difference between renting and buying, what are you doing with that money and what can that money actually get you? And not only is it talking from the concept of investing in index funds, but if you take that money and invest it in your own skill sets, right? That's something that's very important as well. What are you putting into yourself to learn something that could make you more money? And I think the third piece here in terms of like wealth creation, the most important thing I see in my own life is network, man. Like I know it's a cliche of, oh, it's not what you know, but who you know, but I see how fundamentally true this is in my own life. Make time to find the people. Set a block of time, whether it's once a week or twice a week, to reach out to people, to make conversation, to set time, to figure out how you can provide value to people. We're not John Wick, as I said on the Substack. We have to grow together. All right, so hopefully this gave you a better understanding of the numbers behind buying. Again, am I saying buying is a bad decision inherently? No. But I'm also saying that buying a home as a primary residence is not an investment. Hopefully this helps you out. Let's go.